Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You've got Darren Little here from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada with the MLM Superheroes, and we are live on an international broadcast, broadcasting to all four corners of the world. Guys, this is kind of a, a little bit of an off-the-cuff situation tonight because I've managed to sort of headlock here Tony Cohen from New York, live from New York City. Tony Cohen is a seven-figure sales trainer who has taken people into multiple seven figures, tens of millions of seven figures, and in some cases as high as past $1 billion of net worth. So, Tony Cohen, welcome to the call tonight.
Thanks, Darren. I'm not quite sure how to follow up on that now. No pressure whatsoever.
Exactly. Well, guys, this is a really interesting topic that we're going to be talking about tonight because, recently I rolled out what I call a test market, where I test something to see if it's possible. And what I wanted to do was to test to see if it was possible to roll out a business from a complete flat start and create automated income that happened while I was sleeping, while I was working on other projects. I'm rolling out some of my own affiliate products right now. So I wanted to be able to see, could I work on something else and have this business off on the side that would start to create automated income, automated cash flow. And from the time that I started it until today, which is just over a 2-month period of time, the business has generated over $25,000 in cash and about a $3,000 monthly residual income. But here's what's really interesting. It took off like this, and then it went like this. Okay? Now what happened was when I started onto this particular project, I was visualizing in my mind, in my thinking, to be able to make $9,000 in a day. Okay, so that's where my thoughts were thinking, that I'm going to roll out a business to be able to generate $9,000 in a day. Okay, so that's where my thought process was going in the launch. That's what my intention was going in. Now, one of the things that's very important for you to understand as an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if you've got an online business, if you've got a retail business, if you're a realtor, a mortgage broker, an insurance agent, it doesn't matter. If you're an entrepreneur, okay, I will tell you, because I'm a serial entrepreneur myself. Okay, I come up with a concept, an idea, I raise the money, I bring in the management team, sometimes I take the company public, sometimes it stays private, but I can tell you that in any time that you are an entrepreneur, there is an invisible barrier wall, right? I call it breaking inertia. And this is the starting point, from here to that breaking point, you have to have an incredible amount of front-end momentum to break through and break that inertia to keep on moving forward. Now, here's what was very cool. And we're going to be talking about some concepts and ideas tonight that will help you in any business as an entrepreneur. Doesn't matter what you're in. You could be in network marketing, direct sales. You might have a retail outlet. You could be in car sales, automotive, real estate. Doesn't matter. Okay, anything where you have to bring in new customers, new clients, you have to start to think about the fact that you, as the source, right, as that person who's going to create whatever it is that you want of your success in your business, you have to take ownership of 3 key things, guys. 3 things. You've got to take ownership of your thoughts. You've got to take ownership of your words, and you've got to take ownership of your emotions. It's very imperative that you get this. If you can master those 3 things, you can master your bank account. So when I set off with my intention, in my mind, I believed that it would be possible to start to generate $9,000 days. So, you know, a lot of people might have read that headline coming in on the email, and it said, you know, how to get into a $9,000 per day mindset. Now, if you read that and went, yeah, right, that'll never happen, then it won't ever happen for you. It will never happen for you. You have to conquer your thoughts in your mind to believe, what if it was really possible? What if it was really easy? What if, without any effort from your part other than to believe that was true and to proclaim that it was true and to set out with an action plan to make it true, that it would just become real for you. But without your thoughts, words, and emotions, if you don't master that part, it doesn't matter if you've got a campaign happening over here, if you're running paid traffic. I could run a campaign on my side, having my thoughts, words, and emotions mastered, next to somebody right next to me who could run a similar type of campaign. We could spend the same amount of money, and I could make $10,000, and this person makes nothing. What's the difference? The difference is in the broadcast that I'm putting out into the universe. So when you understand this principle, that it's your thoughts, your words, your emotions, it's your physiology in your body and the broadcast that you're sending out, no different than a radio broadcast station. Now, in The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, they talk about something called formless substance. Now, if you look at this from a quantum physics standpoint, that's the electrons. They're smaller than the atoms in the molecules, and they're waiting for your instructions. They're in a state of what's called superposition. They haven't made up their mind yet. Are they going to be a wave of energy or a particle of matter? What are they waiting for? They're waiting for that instruction. Thought directed, emotion generates feeling that's going to come out of your body into that broadcast. So it's imperative that you take ownership, that you are the source, you are the source, you are the source, and you are the source that's going to make that come to fruition in the reality. Now, here's what happened. It's typically 3 weeks, okay? 3 weeks that it takes to break inertia. So once I broke that inertia, by about the 3.5 week mark, I hit my first $3,000 day, okay? Now, a lot of people would go like, holy cow, $3,000 in a day. A lot of people don't even make that in a 2-week payday, or even some cases, even in a month, that I did that in 1 day. Now, here's what was interesting. It was like the 4-minute mile. Once I saw that forward momentum starting to happen, once that inertia was broken and the $3,000 hit, it was like the 4-minute mile. So now my mind believed it even more that it would be possible for me to hit that 9,000 in a day, okay? Now what happened after that is multiple times, right, it started to hit the 3,000, and then boom, it shot up to 7,163. Now here's what's interesting again. Right when I was at the 7,163, once again, my mind, my thoughts, my words, I'm going to make this $9,000 in a day, and my emotions was even connected even more to make that a possibility. Now here's what happened, guys. On Monday of this week, it came in the morning, $3,000. Partway through the afternoon, boom, another $3,000. Now it's at 6. But something started to happen. I could feel that feeling that I was thinking about. What would it feel like? This is critical that you get this. What if it was really possible for you to make $9,000 in a day? What would be different? So if you were to sit here right now, take a deep breath and go, how do I feel? if I'm making $9,000 in a day? How do I feel? What's different? How would I be breathing? How would the oxygen be going into my chest differently if it was a $9,000 day versus a $200 day? What would I feel like? Would my confidence be? Would my shoulders be more back? How would I walk around the room if I was having $9,000 days? How would I talk to people? How would I interact? What would my body feel like? How would it feel different if I was at that versus 100 or 200 or nothing in the day? What would be the distinction? Now, if you can identify that distinction in your physiology, in your body, that's when you'll start to get it. That's when it'll start to make sense. So I was at that $6,000 mark, and I started to feel that feeling in my body that I had been anchoring day after day after day, moving forward, about thinking about how I'm going to manifest $9,000 in a day. Now, I can tell you, if you want to start to get your income into these higher level brackets where you're making more in a day than a lot of people make in a month, you can't be looking up visually like you're looking up at a mountain. Okay, so a lot of people, when they start to think about making a $3,000 commission or making $6,000 or $9,000 or more, they're all in their mind, they're looking up like this at a mountain, like they're looking up at the top of a mountain. You cannot do that. You have to be the eagle. You got to be the eagle flying over top, looking down on those $3,000 commissions, those $3,000 payments. So you've got an aerial view over top, like you're flying over top of a blueprint, in order to put yourself into the right resonance to be able to start manifesting and creating those type of days. So at the 6,000 mark, I started to feel it in my body, right? What I'd been anchoring with day after day after day. And just after 10:15 in the evening, I got a Facebook message from a lady that had the intention that night, but she didn't quite have enough money on her credit card. So that feeling that I was feeling in my body, in my physiology, remember, your physiology in your body is what is going to determine your income level. That's what's communicating out with the electrons that you're sending out that broadcast. And Tony's going to talk a little bit about this topic when we go over to him. But I want for you to understand, first of all, the mindset. You've got to believe that it's a possibility for you in your reality. The moment that you have a question, the moment that you have a doubt, the moment that you feel, oh, that could never happen for me, the moment that it doesn't seem real for you, you won't be able to do it. I can tell you that. You have to be sold yourself. You have to believe 100% in every cell of your body that you are worthy, that you are deserving, that you love yourself enough to allow the abundance flow in, and that you've set your boundaries. You've drawn a line in the sand, and you're raising your standards to a higher level. Okay? This is one of the reasons why I tell all my students to make trips to the Bentley dealership, to the Lamborghini dealership, to the Ferrari dealership. And people say, well, I don't want that. I don't care whether or not you want it or not. You need to get your body tuned into the vibrational resonance of that car. A car that's worth $350,000 or $500,000. It's not whether or not you want it. It's whether or not your body understands that frequency. So when I go to the dealerships with my son, when we first went there, he said, Dad, you know, why do you come here all the time? You don't have $500,000 that you can, you know, pay for one of these cars. I said, Drayson, I come here so that I can get into the frequency of the car. Everything holds a vibrational resonance to it. So as I get close to the car, I'm interacting with the car, my body starts to relax into that vibration. So I'm relaxing into the vibration, but my vibration is actually going higher. So when I'm leaving the dealership, I'm in that vibrational frequency, right? So I said, I come here to get into the vibration, so when I leave, I can attract the money so I can come back to get the car, right? So it starts off at the source, just like the source up here, right? The source coming out of here and the source coming out of here. So if I can tune in to that vibrational resonance of the car and then leave, it's almost like nitrous oxide. Now I'm supercharged, right? And as long as I can close my eyes and smell that leather and visualize the detail and the hand stitching, I'm good. But if I can't close my eyes and smell the smell of that new leather and see the detail, I need to make another trip back there so that I can tune the vibration back in. Very, very critical. So here it is. It's 10:15 or so, and this lady reaches out to me with the intention that she's going black card, right? Now, black card is a product, right, that we have, that we market through one of the businesses that we do, that I did this test market for, and it pays $3,000 commissions. So that means that in the course of a day, that I would only need three sales to be done in order for me to hit my goal. So by chunking it down, that's quite possible for my mind to believe that could really happen, right? So once I broke inertia, right, and I could hit the one sale, which was 3,000, and then it started to happen, 4 or 5 times, then boom, 7163, another 6,000, and I'm almost there. Right, it came close. She had the intention. She emailed me saying yes, she was going to take action. She was about $500 short on her credit card, which she's going to in the next couple of days put on and still move forward and get it. But the thing that was so great about it was that my mind, my body, my words, everything was congruent with that frequency, and it actually came that close to happening. Right? So it's very important that if you get these concepts, guys, this isn't hard stuff. This is not hard stuff. But your challenge is going to be mastering those 3 things. And do you feel deserving? Do you really, truly feel worthy of that abundance flow? Do you love yourself enough to stop the suffering, to stop the pain, to stop the friction, to stop all of the hardships that you're going through? Do you love yourself enough to just surrender the fight? Because it's not you against the world, guys, just so you know. It's you against you. So at what point in time are you going to finally draw that line in the sand and set your boundaries and say, enough, that's it. I'm not going to make myself suffer anymore. Now, are you prepared to take ownership for your whole timeline from the time that you were born? Are you prepared to take ownership for all the chaos, all the failed relationships, all the shit that you've put yourself through over all those years, all the failed businesses? Are you prepared to own everything and love yourself enough to forgive yourself for that? Now, if you're prepared to do this, if you're prepared to just deal with the emotions and get through to the other side of it, your whole life will completely transform. I can tell you that for a fact. Everybody that I take through this training, their whole life turns around because they finally take ownership for their thoughts, words, and emotions. They move from being a victim to being a victor, right? To be able to take responsibility for them being the one that's doing it to themselves, not the world, not their ex, not their boss, right? It's them doing it to themselves. And if you can do that, boom, that's when your life goes to a completely different level. So, Tony, maybe you can just expand on some of the stuff that I'm talking about here and share with your some things that you've gone through to confirm these things to be true for you as well.
Absolutely. 1 second. I'm doing the post 2014 detox. So I'm just stuff's coming out everywhere here. So yeah, on a couple of things there, and I'll bounce back to you in a second. But it's not until we kind of put our hands up and say, yeah, you know what, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. It doesn't matter. It's my fault. Could I have done something different? Hindsight is an exact science. However, the tradition, unfortunately, by default, is to blame others. Something goes wrong, whose fault is it? Who cares whose fault it is? Let's go forward. It's my fault, it doesn't matter. But that's the, by default, challenge that most people have. And I talk an awful lot about a Jim Rohn quote, which is, we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So I'll tell you a little story here. I have a stepsister in the UK that I don't talk to anymore. And without going into too much details, she went through school, she went out on one date, got pregnant, had a daughter, The guy that she ended up marrying, I just got a really bad vibe off him. My dad said, no, he's a good guy, he's a good guy. I said, there's something a little off. No, he's a good guy, he's a good guy. I don't know, something a bit off. So, what am I going to do? Start breaking up weddings and things? I just went along with it. A few years later, he left her, this, that, and the other. So essentially, she ended up as a single mom with 2 kids. And living, I guess you say, in the US on a project. So not the best time. And I was trying to get her out of this victimhood mentality, because it was always his fault or someone's fault or this person's fault, and because of this, that, and the other. And then she meets, then a daughter, hang on, let me get this story straight, it's all over the place. Her daughter, so my niece, goes through the exact same thing. She gets a job at McDonald's straight out of school. She's wishy-washy, shows up for work some days, doesn't show up some other days, shows up some days, there's always an excuse, there's always the weather, there's always the this, I don't feel well, blah, 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 blah. And, hang on, I'm all over the map here, because the mother and the daughter have both got exactly the same patterns. So, sorry, it's the mother. So the mother meets this guy, this other guy, ends up with him. And what it was, in the UK, you can literally have generations on welfare. You can be on welfare your whole life. The government pay for you, the medical's free, they pay for your home, your rent, you get paid every week, a whole bunch of stuff. So you have generations of this. So she goes with this guy, she ends up living at his house. He lives with his parents still. His parents have never had a job. He's had a job at McDonald's, and he got fired too. So they end up in this house, and they're watching daytime TV. So it's like however many of them are there, 3, 4, 5 of them there, in the project watching daytime TV. So it's not enough of a pity party spiral in the house. They need the TV to really fire a catalyst right into it to drag them right down with daytime TV. So anyway, she then she says, "Can you get me a job?" I said, "No, I can't get you a job." I said, "Here's what I'll do. I'll show you how to get a job. Here's what you do. Here's how you put a resume together. Okay. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to go out for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours tomorrow, and just give out resumes to people. Doesn't matter who it is. Don't prejudge. Just any store. Go to the shopping mall. Go to the precinct. Just if you're hiring, if you're hiring." She got a couple of interviews, and magically, and I don't know how, magically she passed an interview. This is someone that's been fired by McDonald's. She's not a bad person. Fired by McDonald's, and not being able to hold a job. She went working on a checkout, lasted about 3 hours. So her resume was kind of hard to put together. What's your resume? Well, I spend 8 hours a day watching daytime TV, getting negative. Doesn't look good on the resume. So somehow she gets this interview, gets the job, gets the start, day one, goes to work. It's hard work. I was chatting with her on Facebook. It's hard work. supposed to have an hour for lunch. I only got 55 minutes. I'm like, okay. And then she goes home. Next day, she goes back again. By the third day, she's thrown a sickie. Third day in, thrown a sickie. What is it? Well, I've got to go and see a doctor, and he can't see me for 2 weeks, and I've got this pain here, and so, you know, the doctor's told me not to do any work. I said, you know what, change your doctor. There's nothing wrong with you, it's only head. Change your doctor. Give me your doctor's name. I'll talk. Okay, you can't have his name. She gets fired. The reality of this is, it's those 5 people we spend the most time with. You and I talk every day. I don't know how many times a day it's that call, just checking in. You know, I don't check in with anybody. Relationships, anything like that, checking in is like, but we talk every day. Numerous times, just checking in, what's going on. Bum, 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 bum. So the challenge with her is, and you know, this vision manifested in my mind. So she comes home from working. She's not worked for years. She's worked 8 hours. Her lunch break was short by 5 minutes, so she's got something to bitch and complain about. She goes into the house full of people who are bitching and complaining anyway because they're drawn into the negative, toxic environment of daytime TV. And I can just imagine this scene. Oh, you should have seen, what's it called over there? Jeremy Kyle today. This is what happened. So then she thinks she's missing out on the bullshit because she's working. So within 2 days, 3 days, the 5 people that she lived with dragged her back in. Regardless of what was going on at work, those are the ones she spent the most time with. And the reality is this. For us to, one of the first steps, and it's a lot of the times, you know, probably like yourself, Darren, I get a lot of inboxes from people who are in situations, sometimes it's victimhood, sometimes they're in a situation, so literally got to snap them out of that. And generally the first thing I say to them is, before we do anything, I want you to sit down, write down the 5 people you spend most time with, whether it's on the phone, face-to-face, Skype, whatever, it doesn't matter. Write them down. And then we've wrote them down, I want to know what it is you want to do with your life. And then we've got to look at, are they beneficial or are they detrimental? So there's something, I think you might have said it yesterday, but make sure you're the dumbest guy in the room. Make sure you're the dumbest guy in the room. Why? That doesn't make sense. It makes absolute sense. If I want to learn, I'm not going to learn if I'm the average guy in the room. I'm not going to learn anything if I'm the top guy in the room. I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. So those 5 people are absolutely key. Now, this is not by default. We can pick and choose. I can pick and choose, as can anyone else, who I pick up the phone with, who I talk to, the type of coffee shop I go to, you know, if you go to a bar, the bar you go to, the people you associate with, you know, there's certain things we may be stuck with. So if your family is negative, spend less time with them. You know, I don't talk to my niece and nephew. You know, I can't have that in my universe. I cannot have that drain, unplugging. So, you know, I gave her a choice. This is what you do. Can you send me some money? No. I'll show you how to get a job. Okay, I'm not sending you money because I'm just not sending you money. Welfare does not work. Welfare is not fair. There's no incentive. Okay, we've got to find it from within. So I told her basically, I will put you and get everything sorted out for you when you move out of that house, but not until. So there's your choice, there's your decision, because while you're there, I'm not spending an hour a day working with you for 23 hours a day mired in toxicity. So it all stems from the 5 people we spend the most time with. So those 5 people, we can pick and choose who they are. So there's certain people, and if I look back a year ago, the 5 people I spent the most time with a year ago are not even in there anymore. I've not fallen out with them. They're not beneficial to where I'm at in my life. A year ago, you know what, they were, or I thought they were, and then, you know, as things manifest, things are not always what they seem. We spoke about this earlier today, about, you know, thinking about things, going into our head instead of going with our gut. So there's a couple of situations last year where I kind of went, oh yeah, this feels right. Yeah, he's a little quirky, but he's a good guy, or she's a good guy, girl, however you say it. And those are the ones that second guess, and those are the ones that literally got spat out the vortex because it manifested as something's a little off. The same as my, I guess, what would I call him? Step brother-in-law, whatever the term is. There was something a little off. So that's my take. I'm going to throw this back to you, and then
Sure.
we're going to do a little exercise, you and I.
Sounds good. Okay, guys, so what I want for you to understand here, a lot of people they get into becoming an entrepreneur or starting a business, and they feel a little bit lost or a little bit in overwhelm because they don't really know what to do in order to get past that breaking of inertia. So what I want to share with you is a couple of strategies that you can use to really get tapped in to your dream and your vision, right? Your dream and your vision. What's your intention? Now, when I started this particular business that I just rolled out, my intention, right, was that I wanted to be able to prove, right, I call it a marketing case study, where I have an intention that I want to show people. So my intention was that within a 90-day period of time that I could start from a flat start and generate enough money for an average person to be able to have an exit strategy from corporate America. Okay, so that was my intention. Now keep in mind, right now about 67 days in, right? So I still have another 3 weeks to go before I'm at my 90-day mark, right? But I would say by the time that 90-day mark is done, I could probably be at 40,000 or so. So, if you had $40,000 in the bank, right, and say a $4,000 additional monthly residual income, that would be enough of a cushion for you to be able to leave your job and to become a full-time entrepreneur, right? So you have to have an intention, right? That's imperative. What's your intention for your business, right? Now, after you set your intention, you have to have a strategy, okay? Now, in the event that you have no budget at all, right? You're starting off on a path and you want to get into a full-time income as fast as possible. If you don't have a marketing and advertising budget, right, and you're dealing with completely free strategies, you're going to have to look at connecting with people through social media, through press releases, through blog strategies, through video, through Google Hangouts like what we're doing right here today, right, and provide value, right? You have to come from a core that you're going to provide value to an industry and you're going to help people to solve their problems. Okay, so if you've ever been an entrepreneur, you would know that there's some typical problems that people come up against. One, as an example, a lot of people don't have a marketing and advertising budget. What if you could show them how to create a $2,000 or $3,000 monthly marketing and advertising budget for their business? Think a few people might be interested in that, right? A lot of people have challenges dealing with leads. They don't have qualified prospects to be able to talk to about their business. That's an inherent problem in the industry. So do you think if you maybe had a few strategies that you learned that you could show people how to solve that problem, that you might have a few people interested in locking arms with you or connecting with you to find out what those solutions are? So if you go into an industry understanding that it's not pitching people, any type of industry, if you want to get this type of a lift off, you have to be a good problem solver, a good people connector, and a very good listener, right? So you've got to ask good questions and listen, right? Ask good questions and listen, right? Very, very important in any type of business. So in the event that you want to go from, let's dial the numbers down a little bit and let's talk from say, zero to a $10,000 income within a 30-day period of time, okay? Here's what I will tell you. Your company video, right? You need to have 1,000 people watch it, right? Now you can do that through connecting with social media and, you know, reaching out, touching base, saying a quick hello to a person, finding out what's happening in their life. Are they in a peak? Are they in a valley? Are they in pain? What's going on with them? Listen to what's happening, right? Now, whatever it is that you have, if they don't have a problem and you can't show them how this over here is going to help them solve their problem, right? So they're the one that's looking at that like it's going to help them solve their problem. If you're pitching your stuff to 1,000 conversations or 1,000 people, all you're going to get is pushback, okay? Typically what happens. So you've got to get good at connecting with people, finding things in common, and asking questions to find out what's happening in their life. Now, typically, a person won't open up to you unless you get to this, which is the connection, right? So get good at connecting with people. Get good at finding things in common. Get good at looking at them, their profile, their pictures. If you're on social media, right? If you're out and about with people, look at their clothes, compliment them on their shoes or their outfit, something that you like, right? Boost them up, lift them up, right? When you lift somebody up, they open up, right? Typically, that's how human beings work. So if you compliment somebody, they feel better about themselves and they open up and they start to communicate more with you. So be a good people person. Be the fun person. Be the happy person. Be the person that's got the energy and the positivity. Make your core about personal development, motivation, inspiration. Come from that feeling of positivity that you're putting out into the world. Somebody says to me, you know, Darren, how's your day going? I go, fantastic, right? They're not used to hearing that. Most people go, not bad, not bad, right? I don't say that. Or when I walk into the bank, they go, you know, how's your day? I go, amazing. They're in shock, right? So that right there shocks the person, and now they open up like this, and now they're more attentive to you. They're in a different vibrational frequency based upon your communication to them. So be very aware of this. So as you roll out a company through social media, now I show my students strategies as an example, how they can roll out a press release, which is a way to get a news item, a third-party news item, where it goes viral all over the internet. It gets picked up by other media outlets, and people share it on social media because it's a newsworthy item that's going to help a specific target market solve a problem, right? Very key. So if you sound too pitchy, you're going to get this, pushback, right? Doesn't matter what it is. And if you sound too pitchy in your press releases, nobody will share them. They won't go anywhere, right? So critical for you to understand. If you want to go from zero to hero, most people say, if I could just make $10,000 a month, you can, right? You can, but you're going to need to go to work, and you're going to need to take massive action. You're either going to connect. Now, what is 1,000? That's roughly 25 connections on any given day, minimum, right? And if you're really on a roll, then it can be as high as 75. So for me, if I'm doing a rollout, I have between 25 and 75 connections in any given day, right? So, and social media, guys, I'm telling you, is one particular area where I've rolled out companies, and within a 90-day period of time, I've brought in personally myself 100 people, right? Not the same people, not rolling over people. I'm talking about 100 brand new people just from finding out what's happening in their life. You know, hey Tom, Darren Little here, just want to reach out, touch base, say a quick hello. What's happening in your world, right? And listen, right? Now, if you get good at this, guys, it becomes easier and easier and easier to be able to do anything, right? It doesn't matter if you need to roll out your own company or hire management teams or board of directors or raise money or do sponsorship deals, right? Or get companies to give you stuff for free. It's all about the relationships and connecting with people, finding things in common, being able to get people to laugh and smile and have fun and enjoy life. If you can get good at these skills, these people skills, right, what happens is you become a magnet. You become the attractor factor. Everybody wants to be around you. Everybody wants to do business with you. When you walk into a room, you can actually stop people's conversations even if they're facing the opposite direction, right? You can walk into a room and somebody that's facing that way will turn around to see who just walked in the room because they can feel that energy come right on their back, right? It's a phenomenon, but it is true. So what I want for you to understand here, guys, is that you've got to have an intention, right? You've got to be emotionally connected to your dream, and you need a strategy. Is your strategy going to be partly online, offline? Is it going to be through personal connections? Is it going to be through paid traffic, social media, video, Google Hangouts? Where's your niche? What do you feel is your personal power? What are you good at? Focus on that. Now, when I roll out anything, guys, I'm telling you, most times I only use 2 or 3 marketing strategies to get the type of results that I get, right? So just know that you don't have to be the master of all trades, right? You just got to get good at a couple of things that you're going to pick off the menu, get good at those, learn the strategy, implement the strategy, and share your results. That's how you get lifted up and looked upon like a leader. Learn a strategy, implement the strategy, and share your results. Back over to you, Tony.
All right. So I've been working, obviously, your strategies with you for quite some time, but I want to introduce something now that it took me when I was in my 20s. I'm not going to do the whole story. It's on other videos. But essentially, I got a phone call. I was in Europe, come back to the States. Well, actually, it was Canada. Come to Canada. We've got into a new business, category creator. We've jumped the market. We're ahead of the curve. And you do an X amount of business, and you'll make 10K a week, $10,000 a week. I'm in my 20s. I'd never made $10,000 a week. I didn't think it was possible. I had a mental block on it. You know, my best week up till then was probably $2,000 or $3,000. You know, wherever it was in the world, the equivalent. So I get this phone call. I think it's BS, which, you know, you point there. Some people looking at the tag for this will just go, bah, more crap. That's fine. Okay. And I thought it was BS, but the guy that called me, Tim, I'd worked with him before, and he'd always been straight with me and always paid me. And I get this phone call, I need your help over here, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to team you up with your, remember the words, we're going to team you up with your old pal Greenie, and you're going to run an office together, and you hit 2,000 accounts a week, and it's 10K a week each. And in my back of my, it's like the two things on your shoulder. There's one going in that ear going, wow, I can handle 10K a week. And the other one's going, that's bullshit, don't listen to him. Yeah, but that's Tim. I've worked with him before. Yeah, he's full of shit. That's nonsense. That won't work. It's not possible. Yeah, but I've worked with Tim before. Yeah, but that's not possible. So I called his bluff. I said, listen, if you want me over there, there's my bank details. Throw some money in. Show me how serious you are. And just, boom, 5K straight in the bank. And I thought, wow, this guy's serious. Within 2 days, I was back in Canada, literally just dumped everything I owned, got rid of it, sold stuff at 10 cents on the dollar, didn't care, made the commitment, jumped in, all in. Packed 2 carry-on bags, or a bag and a carry-on, that was it. That was all I needed. Got there. I remember when I left Tim a few years earlier, he was driving a Cadillac. He picked me up in a brand new 7 Series BMW. I thought, well, that's impressive. drove me to his house. When I left, he had a really nice townhouse. He drove me to this 5,000 square foot acre lot, 4-car garage thing. And I'm thinking, I've only been away 2 or 3 years. And Tim's only, you know, he was probably still in his 20s then as well. Yeah, he must have been. I'm going like, holy crap, this guy's doing it. Opens the garage door, brand new Porsche 928, and I just went, oh, I'm having one of them. That's it. And I went through this, and again, I'm not the whole story here, but I found my why in terms of, at the time, I'd showed up, the business had been running about a month, 2 months. There was a couple of guys, Brennan and the guys from Montreal. So Brennan ran Toronto, the guys from Montreal, Steph and Mike ran that. And I sat in a meeting with these guys, and I had this figure of, same as 9K a day, I had this figure that Tim had told me 2,000 deals a week. And it's split between 2 people, a recruiter and a trainer. And I asked these, and it didn't seem believable. I said, you know, I sat in this meeting, I said, how many deals did you do last week? 200, and the other guy's office got 2,300. I said, okay, give me 8 weeks, I'll beat you. And they started laughing at me. How are you going to do that? You know what, I've no clue. I don't know what business we're even in. I don't know the first thing about it, but I know I'll beat you. That's it. So, in a chain of events, I had to learn 6 months worth of stuff in 3 days. I had to beat everybody else in that existing office to open my own office, which was normally a 6-month process. I did it in a week. The guy that was supposed to help me went working for a competitor's for salary, so I ended up doing 2 jobs, and I just got right in the zone. Living out of a hotel, I ended up in a town called Hamilton, Ontario, which is, in the States' point of view, I guess you call it like, it's an old steel town, so I guess you call it something like Allentown or something like that. An old steel town where the steel mills are closed, huge unemployment, huge problems, all the shutters are down on the buildings. I go to this place, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I'm not telling that story now, but I went from my first week earning $20. My eighth week, bear in mind I started from 0, my 8th week, $28,739. Now that wasn't my goal. The numbers were like the build it and they will come. It didn't matter that the guy that was supposed to work with me didn't, and I ended up doing it on my own. To me, it didn't matter. I didn't even keep track. All that I had in my mind, and you can equate this to the 9K day, all that I had in my mind was Montreal, Toronto. Every week I'd see what they're doing, and every week we'd be getting closer. We're getting closer. I said 8 weeks. That 8th week I worked 138 hours. Got everything going, got everyone fired up, got everything going, and we beat them. I couldn't get these guys on the phone to gloat, but we beat them. But the strategies I used, I'm going to work with you now. So do you want to take yourself off mute, Darren? Can you take yourself off mute? Hello?
Sorry, man.
That's okay. You there?
Yeah. 1 sec.
Okay, so the strategies, and we're going to go on a journey here. Okay? So buckle up. Here we go.
Okay.
There's 3 steps. Okay, this is payback for headlocking me into this, just so you know.
Okay.
I don't know where this is going to end up, and there's loads of people watching, but we're going. So, first step. We've got this target here, 9K a day, to start with. You're looking at that as that. I know it's not finishing as that. In my mind, it's 30K a day. Okay? And I'm, you know, I work with you. You did the test market about, I think, 4 or 5 weeks before I started working on it myself. So, you know, in my mind, it's 30K a day, but I also understand it's going to take a few months ramp up to do that. So, number 1, the first step we have to understand is to accept only the very best. Now, you know, accept only the best is a commonly used term. Accept only the very best. So, what do we mean by that? Well, it's twofold. It's twofold. Number 1, what we receive, and we'll go into this in details in a second. we want to receive the best. If you're on a restaurant, we want to get the food done the best. If you're drinking wine, you want the wine the best. If you're driving a car, you want the best. But before we receive, we have to do what?
Give.
Yeah. So it's a twofold strategy. So by giving the very best, what I mean by that, and we talk about going in the zone or getting in the vortex or whatever it is, and when I get myself into something, doesn't matter what it is, I can be the most ignorant, biggest asshole in the world to everyone outside that zone. I don't return phone calls. I don't do anything. I just, boom. And some people don't get it. But what I do is I make that intent, I make that commitment, this is what I'm doing. And I can utilize that with, I've got to beat these guys in the office. I didn't care that I slept on my office floor for 5 days out of that week. It didn't bother me at all. I didn't care that I didn't have a shower for 3 days. I was on a mission. I was on a military mission to take down Montreal and Toronto. It wasn't what can I get out of it, it's what can I put into it. And I knew if I wanted my team and my guys working 18, 90 hours a week, I would never ask them to do that. But when they see that I'm in that office, I was still like round the clock, no change of clothes for 3 days, do you go home? No, we're busy, man, we're busy. And that lifted everything. We talk about vibration. So for them, it was nothing for them to work back then, a 12, 14, 15-hour day. It wasn't, guys, I need you to do this to help me. It was me doing, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm giving. It wasn't thinking about the receiving. It was all about the giving. And, Zig Ziglar talks about, there's some people that stand in front of the stove of life going, give me some heat, and I'll put you some wood in you next week. It's not. We've got to give first. We've got to sow before we can reap. So sometimes, and this again, we talk about thoughts, words, and emotions. You mentioned there on the most common question we're asked every day is, most common question you're asked every day?
Myself, what question do I get asked?
Simple one that everyone gets asked.
How's your day going so far?
How's your day going? How you doing? Okay.
Yeah.
The most common answer you've already hit on. Not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
Bad. Or the enthusiastic ones are not too bad. I really get fired up with these guys. I'm not too bad. Wow. And then, you get someone next level that's okay. I'm okay. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't break the sound barrier, buddy. Okay? So, that also is a mindset. So sometimes, and you get this a lot with certain careers. So if someone's working an hourly rate or a salary, and they go in there, and I've got a few stories like this, but they go in there, brand new job, want to impress the boss, and they go in there and literally work their ass off, and they're full of enthusiasm and full of enthusiasm and full of it, and they're everything right and everything right and everything right, and more productive than anyone else in the office, and they get paid the same as the guy next to them that is just on tick over. And then the next week they do the same. They outperform everyone in the office, on the factory floor, on a production line, and the production line is having to slow down. He's having to slow down to keep up. And by the third week, they get sucked into that negative vortex. They get dragged down to a mentality called good enough. That's good enough. Now, we can put this to anything in life. It's a mentality. So, if you've got a cleaner coming in your house and you're paying a cleaner, I remember my dad, because when my mum was alive, so I was very young, she worked in an office or something, and my dad worked in a factory, and, they had this cleaner that came in twice a week. And I didn't know anything about it. I'm like 4 years old, 5 years old. And anyway, one day, it turns out there's no more cleaner. And what had happened, my dad told me later, he said, well, I surprised her one day coming home, and she was sat in the house, and this was before everyone had TVs, it was an old black and white TV, there was a program called Peyton Place. I don't know if it was American, I don't know. I have no idea. And she was watching it when she was supposed to be cleaning. And I just remember this thing when my dad said, I said, where is she? And he said, well, she cleaned up. And, you know, he said, I asked her how it was. And he said, well, it's good. And he said, is it good enough? She said, it's good enough. And he ran his finger, I think, on some dust behind something. He said, it's not good enough. And just got rid of it. So good enough literally is, it's the least we can do. Now, if that's effort, if that's giving, it's the least we can get away with without anyone noticing. And I bet there's loads of people watching this now. If you work in an office, I bet there's someone in your office that is really busy all day shuffling paper around, or doing things, or nothing. You know, shredding one piece of paper at a time, then walking back across, and then there's always something. They've got a good enough mentality as far as giving. So in receiving, when it's pay rise time, the boss just says it's good enough. So I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions here, Darren. Your house, to me, always looks immaculate. Yeah, it always looks pristine. Do you clean it yourself, or do you have a cleaner?
It's sort of a combination of, you know, both. Like, I never really let my place get to the point where it's like really like overly messy or overly dirty. You know, it's always quite tidy. But you know, when the cleaner lady comes, I know that it's going to, when they leave, it's like clean. You know what I mean? So you know, I keep my place quite clean and tidy, but I do bring in another you know, cleaner about every 3 weeks or so, just to, you know, do a once over.
So you would definitely then, in that case, you would definitely be able to spot the difference between a cleaner who works on a good enough basis and a cleaner that works to a level of excellence.
Absolutely, and I've had both. And you know, if I, you know, I'll go into the bathroom as an example. Like if I get a cleaner, and I tell the lady, you know, you need to spray everything completely down, and then wipe it all dry, right? It's got to be clean. So if I go in there and there's like, you know, you can see like spots still on the mirror, I know she hasn't sprayed the whole thing down, because it's not possible to spray something down completely and still have the spots on it, right?
Yeah, but you know what? It's good enough.
No, it's never good. I don't have her anymore. I let her go.
There you go. So it wasn't good enough, and
Yeah.
what happens? And then, you know, sometimes then people can get into the victimhood thing and start blaming you because you had too many spots on your glass or whatever, or blaming you and making an excuse. But the reality is victimhood. Let's take this to a next level. Okay, so you're a single guy, correct?
Yes.
All right. So if you had a date lined up tonight,
Yeah.
okay, and it was a date, and you met the date, and you know what? And without being graphic here, but I don't care, it's people watching. She wasn't quite as beautiful as she thought. She she didn't look like her Facebook picture. I know that doesn't happen in real life. Or maybe the Facebook picture was of the head, and she got a little bit wider on the way down. But she had a nice personality. So, you know, in reality, she was, you know, she wasn't quite what you were looking for, but she's good enough. Would you have a second date?
Me personally, probably not, because I'm looking for, if I know that I'm looking for something very specific, right? For, you know, what I need to be in my preferred state, which is to be in that type of relationship with a person that I want, that has, you know, specific characteristics or whatever. And if I've identified that that person doesn't have what I'm looking for or what I'm congruent with, then I probably would not know.
But even if she's good enough.
Well, I've got pretty high standards.
Okay, there we go.
What I find is this: if a person is a overachiever, superachiever type of personality, They have high standards in everything in life, from their clothes
Yep.
to their place to their car. You know, like a lot of people will say to me as an example, you know, I'll say, I'm taking my truck and getting it washed. Didn't you just wash it like 5 days ago? Yeah, right? But it looks dirty to me, and I like having my vehicle always clean and the armor all on the tires and everything else, because I got that from one of my millionaire mentors. So that's something that I've carried over, and you know, having my vehicle spotless and really clean and pristine is something that I've continued all the way through for, you know, ever since I was like in my early 20s, right? All my cars are like that.
That's kind of interesting, because my first millionaire mentor, I've told you about the 928 Porsche, he never cleaned it. And it was kind of his FU to the world, because he was a school dropout and driving around in this brand new black Porsche and purposely left it covered in crap. And he would pull up at places and you'd see all these gleaming cars, whatever they were, and you'd see this one dirty, brand new black Porsche 928 sat right in the middle of all these gleaming whatevers. So when I got one, I did exactly the same. I thought it was like our little private joke with the world, and maybe it was. So yeah, this is it. It's we talked before about mindset. So good enough translates to everything else. You can take it to another level. You can say, you know what, Darren, you're going to need brain surgery. It's $1 million, but that's the best guy in the world. However, I found another guy for 100,000. He's okay. He's good enough. Yeah, you got it. So it is. It translates right across. There's no compromise. Because you know when people know, obviously people know we work together, and you know the description when people say, "Oh, you work with Darren?" Yeah, I work with Darren. Oh man, that guy's an animal. When he gets his teeth into something, it's just boom. I said, I know, but that translates to everything. So in the receiving, whether it's a clean car, the date, whatever, the brain surgeon, it's also the giving. So that's step one. Accept, so not the best, accept the very best. Now, we spoke about this mental block with 9K a day that some people may be having watching this. So my question is this. When they've got a mental block, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. Do you think LeBron James earns more than 9K a day?
Absolutely.
David Beckham?
Absolutely.
Bill Gates?
100%.
Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on a Google Hangout. The two kids that started Google, are they over 9K a day?
Absolutely.
All right, so it can be done.
Yes.
No doubt. Okay. So step one, accept some of the very best. Step two, raise your limiting beliefs. So we're going to do a little situation here. Your 9K day, when you hit it, you're going to win the big prize. Okay?
Boom, boom, boom!
The big prize. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what the prize is. Okay? You're going to go out on the hottest of hot dates, your choice. Okay? Don't let me set someone up for you. Your choice. Okay? You're going to go. You're going to get, I know you like dress with clothes. Your date's going to get kitted out with clothes. You're going to go for dinner for two. And we're just going to walk through this. So how much, you know, I noticed I've seen a lot of pictures of you well dressed. How much is a good suit?
Probably $3,000.
3? Okay. And I don't, contrary to what people might tell you on the internet, I don't wear dresses. But if someone had to, if you had a date and you'd won a prize, could you get the same, could you get a real good dress and outfit for about 3,000?
Oh, easy.
As a treat? Yeah?
Oh, easy. I mean, I don't, you know, the higher end women's clothing stores. I mean,
Could you do it for 3,000?
oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, I don't live in Vancouver. You won 3K suit, 3K dress, a date to go out for dinner for two. So what's the rates in Vancouver? I'm guessing they're probably similar to New York City. Dinner for two with wine and everything at a good place.
$500.
500. Okay. Damn, you're a cheap date, man. 500. Okay. So let me just run this back through you. What's the most you could spend on a suit?
The most that I could spend or that I have spent?
Well, no, the most that. What's the most expensive suit you've seen? I don't know.
Probably 10 grand.
Yeah, 10's about right. I'll tell you a little story on that while we're on it. So a few years ago, and I was in the energy business in the UK. My great friend Richard Cream was an innovative fashion retail guy. He was the first guy in the UK to bring Gianni Versace in there. And Richard was 7'3" in his stocking. So quite a, unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but quite an interesting character. So I used to get all my clothes off Richard. And he always had this, he's in my hierarchy before anyone else, and all this sort of stuff. And I go in there one day, and I'd like yourself, I'd spend 2,000-3,000 on a suit, and fine. I go in there one day and said, Tony, he was very well spoken. Tony, you've got to see these suits I've got in. And I said, I'm okay on suits, I'm good. No, this suits your lifestyle perfectly. I'm thinking, what's he talking about? He said, these suits, these Yohji Yamamoto handmade suits, you could go out and party all night. And he goes into this detail about how the fabric's weaved and protected, so you can throw drinks over them, they won't absorb. And he said, Tony, you could sleep in a skip in this suit and show up in the office the next morning and nobody would know. And I kind of went, yeah, whatever, And then, when we talk about role models or mentors, he mentioned the name of someone who was a huge music guy in back then, Tony Wilson. He said, Tony Wilson just got 3 of these suits. I said, Tony's got them. Okay, so I try this suit on. It feels good. And just very standard 3-button black suits, but the different weights, a spring one, a summer one, a winter one. And I said, yeah, it feels good, Richard, feels good. How much are they? 10,000. And this was pounds. So that's $15,000. And I went, are you nuts? Who spends that on a suit? Are you insane? He said, Tony, you don't understand. I said, Richard, you just don't understand. I'm not paying 10,000 or 15,000 pound, whatever, 10,000 pound for a suit. He said, Tony, you don't understand. The suits you buy at 3,000, you get them clean once a month. Is that right? I said, yeah, that's right. And he said, they'll last you, cleaning them once a month, they'll last you about 2 years before, maybe even a year before they start to look a bit off. He said, this one, you only need to clean it twice a year, and it will last you 10 years. And I was like, yeah, whatever. He said, here's what I'm going to do, Tony. Take it and don't pay me. All right, this seems like the good deal. If it doesn't do what I say it does, give it me back. So to me, that's a no-brainer. There's no catch. If it doesn't do, okay. So 3 days later, I wear this suit every day for 3 days on purpose. I'm trying to prove him wrong so I can get 3 days free suiting. 3 days later, it looks exactly the same, and I've been out doing my thing, and the 4th day, I go into the store and say, have you got any more of these suits? He said, yeah, I've got one different weights. I said, I'm not paying you for this. He said, Tony, just take them, pay me when I need the money. I went, okay. That was in, what year would that be? That would be about 1996. I was still wearing them till Hurricane Sandy 2 years ago, and I had they were in a dry cleaners when Hurricane Sandy came through. They still look like brand new 16, 17 years later. So I get it. I wouldn't do it now because I don't wear suits now. So there is definitely possible to spend that sort of money on a suit. So you're just going to go into something now with a lady's dress, and you're talking about high end. Now I have no idea, but what would you say if you had the super hot date and said, wherever it is, I don't really know designers anymore, but whoever's hot these days, the outfit, the shoes, because you got to have the bag with it as well, the Louboutins or whatever.
Well, the bag alone could be $5,000-$6,000 just for the bag.
That's why I stopped carrying them around. So the whole outfit, the whole ensemble, how much for a lady?
Oh my God! Okay, that's like opening up the floodgates, brother.
15, 20.
I mean, like I said, the bag alone could be 5,000, 6,000.
Is there
Eight,
places? Let's look at this then. Is there places in Vancouver where you live where a woman could spend 10,000 on a dress,
easy, Holt
5,000 on
Renfrew.
a bag, and 3, 4, 5,000 on shoes?
Easy, Holt Renfrew.
Right. Okay. Hey, you know what? We're talking there uh, about getting stuff because you operate a vibrational frequency. People obviously know I've got a shirt things, and guess where they're available in Canada? Holt Renfrew.
Yeah.
So there you go. Quick plug. So 20K Holt Renfrew. Where would you get? Would that be the same place for like a $10,000 men's suit? Would that be Holt Renfrew as well?
I would say so. I don't know if Harry Rosen goes up that high, but I normally get my suits at Harry Rosen, and three grand is 2,500 to 3,000 is pretty much a standard for a nice
But
canali
Holt
or
Renfrew would have more expensive stuff. Have I got that right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
So let's say this. We spoke about 500 for dinner for two. Is there a place in Vancouver you could spend more than 500 for dinner for two?
I mean, not really as far as the food goes. I mean, the bigger money would be if you were getting Dom Perignon or something
Right.
like that. Like,
Okay,
you
but
know,
I know there's places in New York City that you can easily spend two, three, four, five times that.
yeah. I don't, not really. I can't really think of any place, even the most posh places here in Vancouver. It's never really over 100, 100 and some a plate. Like,
Okay.
and that would probably be at a steakhouse that where the steak was $100, and then you had some add-ons, and maybe the whole meal came to 150 each or something like that. But I can't really think of any restaurants here in Vancouver where they would be
All
two,
right.
3 grand for dinner. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, we got it. And I know you're a big car guy, so you go to the Lamborghini dealership, you go to the Bentley one. I've seen some pictures. If you could choose any car in the world right now to own, what would it
Hmm.
what would it be?
Without question, would be the Pagani.
Pagani, the one
Yeah,
that I can't, the new one that I can't pronounce. The begins with an H.
the Huayra. Yeah, it's 2.25 million for that car.
Pagani Hawara.
Yeah. It's next level. It's just next level.
Next level. That's okay. So here's what happens. So I get the call. I get the call. You've hit the 9K, and we have a little side bet before this
Okay.
that I will pay for a night out for you when you hit the 9K. So I get the call, 10 o'clock at night. You've hit the 9K.
Okay.
You've won the prize.
Boom, boom, boom.
You've won the prize. Okay. What you got to do? Okay. Here's the plastic. Here's the black card. Here's the number. I need to go Harry Rosen's tomorrow. Get yourself kitted out. You got 3K to spend. Can you do that?
Yep.
Okay. It's up to you. You've got a hot date. You choose who it is. I want you to treat her.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, she's not getting a 5K bag, but you've got 3,000 to spend on your hot date.
Okay.
Did you treat her okay for that?
Boom, boom,
Okay. Yep.
boom.
Yeah. Where would you go for dinner for two in Vancouver? What's the place?
I mean, I would say that I would probably, just because of the view and everything, I'd probably go to the revolving restaurant. It's just got an amazing view of the whole city, and you go around like a revolving. It's not like over the top expensive, but it's still one of the higher end places in Vancouver.
Okay. So What I'm going to do, I'm going to have a limo come round, get all the stuff. You've got your 3K suit. Your date is dressed really well. She's got the 3K outfit on and she's super happy. Okay? You're going for dinner. Table's reserved. I'm going to have the limo pick you up. You go out for dinner. What do you like to eat? What do you have as a starter?
I would probably have, you know, spinach salad or something like that, or you know, maybe, yeah, probably something like that, or you know, large jumbo shrimps cocktail.
Okay. What about main course? What do you like?
Um, I would say that I would probably have like a New York steak, you know,
Okay.
with asparagus
I
and
don't need the. You there? You got the vision in your
yeah,
mind? You know what it looks
yeah,
like? You know what it tastes like?
absolutely. Yep.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
Right now, you've got the $3,000 outfit on.
Okay.
You're with your date. She's looking fantastic. She's got the $3,000 outfit on. The limo, you're in the limo now. It's driving, it's pulling up. You're going upstairs to the revolving restaurant. And you don't even need to order. They already know what you want. You know what the salad tastes like. You know what the shrimp tastes like. You know what the steak tastes like. Can you taste it?
Absolutely.
Okay. And from there, you're going to have a wonderful night. You're going to look out over the Vancouver skyline. Your date is so happy. You're so happy. The feeling, the vibration, the whole thing. Can you feel it?
Absolutely.
So when the evening ends, the limo's still waiting outside for you. You carry on with your evening, and I call you the next day and say, how was it last night, Darren? How did it go? What would your answer be?
Amazing.
Amazing. So, you know, it's when we feel it and we feel that texture and we've been it and we can taste it, it's amazing. But I've got some bad news for you.
What's that?
I made a mistake. You didn't win that. I totally screwed it up. Okay?
Okay.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
What I need you to do right now, okay? I've got you the Pagani Huara for the day. I need you to go to Holt's, take your date, go to Holt's. Because of the screw up, I want you to blow $10,000 on yourself, on a suit and shoes and whatever you want. I want you to just let your date run with it. She's got $20,000 to spend as she wants. You can feel her gratitude. She puts the outfit together, you look, she comes out the changing room, you can see it with the bag, the shoes, the whole outfit, and she looks show-stopping. This is the Oscars. This is Hollywood. Next level. She looks absolutely stunning. And you call me and say, right, we've got the clothes, what do we do now? I said, I've got a little bit more bad news for you because you're not going to the hotel there. I need you to drive to the airport in the Pagani. I need you to drive to the airport in the Pagani. I've got a couple of people I can call on. I've got Mark and I've got Brennan. Both Canadians, both self-made, both have their own private jets. I'm going to have one of them come to Vancouver Airport, pick you up. Okay? You drive, you know what? When you've got the Pagani and the private jet, you don't go through the airport, you just drive straight onto the runway. You're walking up into the Citation, Brennan's Citation, you're walking up the steps, it seats, and it's 8 people, and all of a sudden, buckle up, strap in, you feel that boom in your back when the seat hits you on takeoff. You have a couple of glasses of champagne, and before you know it, you're circling around, and you realize that's the Manhattan skyline. You can see the Empire State. You can see the World Trade. You You see all this stuff. That's the. It's unmistakable. It's the only city in the world that looks like that. It's an island with all this. There's nowhere else. All of a sudden, you're going, how have I got here? Your date is blown away. Like, Darren, what's going on here? What's going on? I thought we were just going out for dinner. You land at JFK. There's no customs, there's no nothing. You get picked up by the Rolls Phantom with the driver. You quickly whisk straight out of JFK. He nails it. You're coming over the Brooklyn Bridge. You can see the whole Manhattan skyline. You have a little drive around, and then you're going to go to Balthazar. And Balthazar is one of my favorite restaurants in New York. And Balthazar, I've had the best lamb there. I've had great steaks there. Everything is top drawer. Everything. In Balthazar, even with the black card, it's a 2-hour wait. However, you go there and it's full of A-listers, and because it's New York, no one's even batting an eyelid. It's just full of them. And as you go in, there's no 2-hour wait. The maitre d' says, "Oh, Darren, yeah, got the phone call. We've got the table." They sit you down at the table. It's a booth, just you and your date. There's a whole bunch of waiters waiting around and running around and this, that, and the other. And you have the salad, and it's you can taste how fresh, how crisp, the texture, the temperature. You can taste it. You can feel it. I've got to tell you, the shrimps in this place are the size of your hand. You can taste, the texture, just biting them, and that bit when you're getting the shrimp out of the shell at the end. The steak comes just exactly as you want it, with the asparagus, and these people are running around. And your date, you look up at her while you're eating, the smile, the glow, the feel, she looks beautiful, she's got the clothes on, she's got everything perfect, with this big, warm, vibrational glow coming off her, and all of a sudden, you are levitating above the table, and it's like, wow, I'm here, I've hit it, I've done it, wow. And you do all this, the maiders, and then they come around with the music and everything, and it's just a complete night to die for, and you end up, I'm not flying home tonight, you know what? We'll have the Rolls Phantom. You've got the suite at the plaza overlooking Central Park with the horse carriages outside. You have a wonderful night. You go down, you sit looking at the park, you have breakfast. The Rolls is outside still waiting for you. Your date is just blown away. You're still taking it all in and absorbing it. And you have a quick drive around over the Brooklyn Bridge, onto the tarmac at JFK. The citation is still there. You go up the 12 steps. You guys had a wonderful day, wonderful evening. We're good to go back to Vancouver. Buckle up. Boom! Kick in the back. Take off. And next thing, before you know it, you're landing in Vancouver. The Pagani's still on the runway. Hit the button, fire it up, back home. You go into your home where you're sat right now, and you get the call. And I call you and say, Darren, how was it?
It was epic.
Can you taste that? Can you feel it? Can you feel the kick in your seat as you get
Absolutely.
on a runway? You know what that feels like.
Absolutely.
And the rest of the day, you and your date are just breathing it in, just savoring remember this we saw, remember the taste of this, remember the flight, remember the air stewardess's name, what was the pilot called, remember how we just drove onto the tarmac in the Pagani and we got back and it was in the same spot. George drove the Rolls-Royce Phantom with the white gloves on, and he was around for us and doing whatever. And you get the call, and yeah, epic. And there's your date. And then the next day, I call you back. And I said, Darren, I cannot explain this enough. I really, really, really screwed up this time. I was wrong. I was correct on the first day. So what I want you to do, take the 10K outfit back to Renfrew's. Oh, by the way, you've got to give that Pagani back straight away. Take the 10K outfit back to Renfrew's. You're going to have to explain to your date, not me, you're going to have to explain to your date that she's got to take the shoes, the bag, and the outfit back to Renfrew's. And what I'll do, to make it up for you, keep the 3K suit, tell her she can keep the 3K outfit, just go out for dinner tonight, $500 on me, I'll have a limo pick you up. How would that feel?
Do I taking all the stuff back?
Yeah. It's okay, you get a $500 dinner and a 3K outfit.
Well, it would feel okay, but it wouldn't feel as good as the night before.
Okay, so what we do then is we talk about raising our limiting beliefs. So what we just did in a 10-minute exercise is you know what your physiology would be like walking in New York City where there's a 2-hour wait, even where your Amex Black Card concierge service and your name is Sir, Lord, whatever it is. Yeah, great. I have a black card. Yeah, so does everyone here. Stick in a queue. Okay. To just glide in. You know that physiology. We were talking about this before. The physiology of walking into the room and gliding. Shoulders back, head up, gliding. Same with your date. Our words, all of a sudden, when we're at that level, our words become more succinct, more precise, more deliberate. We become more mindful. And it's a direct, we'll call it a side effect of an improved physiology. So to raise ourselves to another level, we just, we're talking about a 9K day. In my mind, I'm on a 30K day. And it's not this week. In my mind, it's by the end of May. I've done, it's not doing the math. It's just, all right, can I do a 30K day tomorrow? No, I don't have enough momentum. I understand there's a ramp up. I'm a realist as well. Well, it's not much of a realist saying a 30K day. Yeah, it is. It's 10 clients. So what? Okay, so what? So, and I'm going to hand this back to you when you come down. We can do this again. I've got to wake you up out your trance. You wait? So listen. This is all well and good. So we did step 1, accept only the very best. Step 2, raise your limiting beliefs. Step 3, sometimes we have to change our strategy. So if you worked, and you know what, nothing wrong with working in a factory or an office or McDonald's or anything like that, you're a valued member of society who's contributing. If you work in a McDonald's or a factory or an office, do you think you'd be able to raise your limiting beliefs like we've just done? I don't think so. We have a blocker. If you're earning $500 a week, to go into Paganis and Rolls Royces.
Yeah, I mean, for an average worker, probably not.
No.
Because it would be so far outside of their comfort zone that they wouldn't be able to comprehend it to be real.
So there's a whole bunch of people can't comprehend 9K a day right now.
Absolutely.
There's a whole bunch watching, but there's a whole bunch can't comprehend. I would even go so far as to say, if you had a 6-figure salary, 100, 200K a year, you still could, even if it was 800K a year, somebody still couldn't comprehend a Pagani for whatever it is, $2.25 million. A chauffeur-driven, it's a stretch. Or
Yes.
For guys like you and I and lots of people watching this call, who essentially dress it up as you want, essentially work on commission, whether it's our own business or not, we don't have a salary, we earn what we earn. So I just use the term commission. If you're in a position where you work in a business, and I was chatting with a guy in the UK today who is in the home improvement business, And you know, what's the best guy in the office earn? A couple of thousand a week. Okay. Well, you know, to go from a couple of thousand a week to 9K a day, the perception that it's possible is beyond our realm.
Yeah.
So sometimes we've got to change our strategy. And I'm going to wrap it up at that. Changing our strategy, I'm going to throw it back to you, but if we can just wrap it up fast, because we don't want to go into a whole business explanation or anything like that. All I would say is to change your strategy, if you are not in a position where you can play that game we've just done, and I use the term game, play the game until it becomes reality. I'm guessing now I could have had you in that zone for about another half an hour easily, because you took a bit of waking up there for a second. If you're not in that strategy, you might want to talk to myself or Darren, and maybe there's a fit, maybe there isn't, I don't know. But I'm going to throw it straight back to you, Darren. Are you okay?
Sounds good, yeah, of course.
That was the naked soul playback.
Yeah, there you go, there you go. Okay, guys, so, you know, just in a quick ramp up here, what I'm going to share with you is that if you are a person that has reached what's called a breaking point, if you're a person that's in a state of transition where you're really truly not tapped into your vision, tapped into your passion, tapped into your dream, the definite distinction on whether or not you're going to have success or failure is to be able to lock arms with millionaire mentors. Now, both myself and Tony, we've both been in a situation where we've worked with millionaire mentors and we've already made millions of dollars ourselves. I became a millionaire by the time I turned 35 years old. I went on to make multiple millions of dollars. Tony, I know, has made millions of dollars himself and trained people to move to 10, 20, 50, 100 million and beyond. One or two of the guys, I believe, has reached billionaire status from some of these strategies that Tony teaches. So in the event that you're one of those people where you've basically just said, you know what, 2015 is going to be my year. End of story. 2015 is going to be that year for you. If you're one of those people, reach out, touch base, lock arms with us, because the strategies that we teach are documented. We're not talking from hype here. This is real, tried, tested, proven. We do marketing case studies on every single thing that we roll out. Everything that we do is documented. So, you know, we can fast track you along the path by at least 3 to 5 years to get closer and closer to your dream until you can have one of those situations of what we were talking about today. So you've got Darren Little here with the MLM Superheroes and Tony Cohen live from New York City. We look forward to meeting you in person one day, and we look forward to seeing you at the top. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.